Welcome to Friday Forum, March 25th, last forum of the quarter. All right, this week, we have made some progress on IRB enrollment process. This is the sort of checkout / enrollment into the research involved in the IRB studies, IRB approved studies that we're conducting. So we got some flow mockups out this week and going to iterate to incorporate membership language that squares nicely and explains the research nature of the IRB program. More to come on that. Obviously, we've got a nice design mock-up here in the corner, kind of showing how these different elements are all going to have to sync together, both the concept of membership, the pricing packages included, the levels research study, et cetera. Scrubbing internal costs to finalize liftoff CGM pricing. So we've got a couple different programs that we will be running side by side, essentially, and there are a number of ways that we can end up with final pricing. This could be pricing parity. This could be a matrix of options. So continuing to scrub our internal costs to make sure that we have a good understanding of what our COGS are, so that we can launch those various packages with the liftoff. We had a great Q1 assemblage. It's still ongoing. Obviously, we've got the Friday fireside after this call, which will be on member centricity, and that's going to kind of wrap up the assemblage. But we've got several IRL meetups across the world this week, which is really awesome. GDPR compliance. So this is the international privacy policies that are privacy, mechanisms that we need in place in order to be able to launch in places like the EU. We're at about 7% complete right now. That's a little bit misleading because we have some large initiatives which are well underway, and we'll close the gap in time for that international liftoff. So exciting progress there. Our first full closing for the Series A is complete, dated 3/21. We have a follow-on closing with a few final funds and individuals, which is probably 1 to 2 weeks out, and we'll have a full announcement with press coverage, et cetera, shortly thereafter. We're going to open our first senior product manager role. So we haven't hired for the PM role yet, and looking for team and network recommendations for this. So I'll let Scott speak to that as we get a little further along in the meeting. But for those of you who are doing the quick browse of this call later, looking for a senior PM fit. And then we shipped and received great feedback on the long form Medium article on membership. So we're going to have a little bit of an update on this as well later in the meeting. But the point is that we are still iterating on our communication around membership. And in some cases, there's been some friction as people struggle to understand what we mean by membership, what that entails for them, and whether or not there's a change coming, whether changes have just happened, or if this is something that's always been the case. So this is really helpful to get early on as we continue to build out, like I said, the checkout flows and the experience that a new member goes through as they start their journey with levels. So some good learning opportunity there. And then now page this week, we've got several iterations. Some of the stuff you can see here. This is Zone Show page with a community comparison. So Zone Show V4, community glucose response, score explainers, swipe closing, anomaly detection, all of these features that we're getting after the first round of uses from our internal testing group. And then we'll be expanding through Launch Darkly for a larger audience soon. Other stuff, we've locked in Tim Ferriss's show with the 5 Bullet Friday appearances coming soon. So that'll all be launching, I think, in the next few weeks. We've got our next iteration of the packaging here. Some really good feedback on the onboarding Medium article that Ms. posted. I got several notes about this as well. People are just very excited about the onboarding process and the amount of intentionality that it shows about the company. And then let's see, Casey was able to hang out with Drew, Jeff Wilkie's place. They had a nice longevity dinner there. Rob Lustick and Ben talked about big industry. So all of the big food, big healthcare, big pharma entities that are at play and that we are interfacing with in some capacity or another. Ali posted a new video about glucose levels and CrossFit. Had a number of great episodes recorded this week, including Eli talking about SEO strategy. And Casey appeared on Lewis's School of Greatness episode podcast, as well as Everything is the Best. That kind of touches on the main stuff here. I'm going to jump ahead and welcome Andrea. So Andrea is managing partner at Basecamp Fund. She has been, first of all, a Levels user, and secondly, a major supporter and an awesome resource for us over the years. And Andrea, I really appreciate you taking some time on this Friday to hang out with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts about seeing the Level story unfold from kind of the earliest days and
Yeah,
your experience with Levels directly.
of course. Thanks for having me. Let's see. Gosh, I'm not really a consumer investor. I tend to back companies that are doing B2B plays or fintech, but sorry, not even early, I guess mid 2020, I was dealing, like most people during the pandemic with lethargy, with severe lethargy. And maybe that was because we were locked in our houses, not doing much, anxious over the state of the world. And I was trying to figure out through functional medicine sort of what I needed to change. And I was hearing about Levels actually through another angel investor, Moshe, who I know has come on and spoken with you all before. And he was telling me, why don't you try this out, just as a user, because it sounds like you probably need it. It would help with sort of what you're going through. So I contacted, Moshe put me in touch with Sam, I believe, and we started chatting. And in my head, I just started going through all the different ways that in the distant future, this could be a B2B business, right? I thought through kind of how employers could offer it as an employee benefit, or how interesting it would be for gyms and trainers to be offering it to their clients. And so that sort of sales process, but I was kind of, jumping ahead of things. And so Sam was really kind. And I'm sure most of the people on this call know, he followed up with to all of my questions on the call with the most incredible notes and notations and research studies that I'm sure the whole team was part of putting together. But I remember being like, whoa, like mind blown. This founder is really pretty spectacular, right? He went above and beyond, giving me a science primer and regulatory thoughts that he had walked through even before launch. And again, I know it was a team effort, but I was really wildly impressed by the organization of his pitch and then the follow up. And then I started using Levels and started tweeting about it, and just was mind blown. I mean, I realized that the green smoothie I was drinking every morning was a sugar bomb, and it was because of the green apple that I was putting in it. And started realizing that the acai bowls that I thought were, healthy, weekend snacks were basically just candy for me. And actually, that was my biggest learning. For me, fruit is just it really doesn't work well, right? It's really what spikes me the most. I even had a bar of, milk chocolate that spiked me less than my green juice. And so I just became a fan, and I became obsessed, and I begged Sam to let me into the round. This was prior to the Andreessen round. So this was when there were a lot of smaller checks. And I realized, like, the people around the table were world class. Everyone was seeing exactly what I was seeing. And like a lot of them, I had never even really considered metabolic fitness before, or CGMs for consumers. But in talking through it with the team, obviously, and hearing it from Sam's perspective, it just became so obvious that this creation of a new category was in front of us. So that was kind of my early days, and I've been so lucky to be part of this, and have gotten a lot of my mom's friends involved, and a lot of my friends as users. And I am a diehard Ali Spagnola fan. I mean, I watch all of her videos. I think she's freaking hilarious. So I'm so glad that she's part of sort of the marketing materials. But yeah, listen, as a non-traditional investor in this group, I can't wait until, year 5, 6, 7, when we do go after maybe some of those employee health benefits or these other sort of alternative revenue streams. And so part of what I've been working with you all on is even just brainstorming, even though it's not an imminent thing, thinking about what that could look like down the road.
Love it all. Yeah, that feels like 5 years ago, but I guess that was only a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Crazy.
But yeah, really awesome to hear the Magic Moments experience. It sounds very very familiar. I think one of the common threads that many of our early supporters and believers share is that that personal experience, being able to try out what is ultimately a prototype of the long-term vision, but just getting that closed feedback loop and recognizing that this does scale because it's on the individual level, and the moves in technology on the hardware side are important, but bringing that software into the actionable and approachable space that it has yet to kind of has yet to broach is really the unlock for not just the consumer play, but also these long-term wellness programs, so that people, it's not just another, gym benefit. It's something where people can understand how to go to the store and select food items that work for them, and recipes that fit with their lifestyle and their unique body. So love hearing your personal experience, Andrea. Thank you for being such a power player with us for the last several years. And yeah, looking forward to the 5 years ahead and those after, and the B2B plays that I think we will ultimately have access to.
Yeah, thank you to the whole team. I know you guys grind. I mean, you guys put out so much incredible content and updates and product releases. It's really mind blowing. I point my other, portfolio companies to see what you guys are all up to. I know it's a team effort. So really, you guys have just a world-class team there, and I'm thrilled to be part of this.
Amazing. Yeah, I agree. Thanks to everyone on this call for representing all the time, bringing the best. Andrea, we've got kind of a long meeting today, but you're more than welcome to stick around the whole time. We've got another share at the end. Would love to have you join. If not, thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your weekend, and thanks from the whole team. Okay, jumping into culture and kudos. So this week, pretty exciting to see a number of different updates from IRL locations around the world. We got a 14-person crew together last night here in Austin for a nice dinner. We've got the assemblage ongoing at what turns out coincidentally to be Justin Mayer's home, which was the Airbnb that we just by coincidence selected. Justin is also an investor. He is the founder of the Wearable Challenge concept. So very much keeping it in the family with the Levels meetup here in Austin, and really enjoying hanging out with everyone, meeting some new people, and getting the bingo card updates. We got Casey with Sonia, our new chief of staff in LA. We've got the Portugal crew with Sam, Karen, Murillo, and Jeremy all sharing a meal, it looks like. Myself and my wife, Kate, showing up to our place. That was yesterday or maybe the day before here in Austin. And then JM's update from Italy, which looks amazing. They're at the Coliseum. I believe that's the Coliseum. I could be wrong. A lot of ruins up there. Nice, I nailed it. All right, so this was a great week, I think, for everyone around the world. Level shows you how food affects your health. No updates to the prayer. Everyone should be working towards this priority. If you feel that you're off track, or there are ways that we can enhance our laser focus on this specific mission, just let us know. Talk about it. Let's continue to work towards that mission. JM, welcome back.
Thank you. More or less flat week on daily active food loggers. We're still basking in the Sinclair glow, which is great. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Quick refresh, Josh. We can actually skip this slide. Keep going. All right. Thanks to David and all the mobile devs. We are at 3 days since the last release. Good news here. Light product week this week, so I'm just going to skip a lot of the allocation stuff because of assemblage. Next slide. All right, so Josh alluded to, we are hiring a senior product manager. I'm about to get the rec posted hopefully next week. This week kind of got derailed by all the fun stuff that we're doing. One of the things that I try to do for product managers, because their role can be a bit amorphous sometimes, is paint a bit of a framework that I call the GM artist scientist triangle, because I want to specifically highlight that we've got people that function a lot like PMs, at least at other companies, in various capacities. And generally, people will fall kind of along the edge of this triangle representing two of these disciplines. It's extremely rare for somebody to be kind of in the middle. And so this is kind of how roughly it hangs out right now. And I just wanted to call out that we're going to be hiring another one specifically on the GM artist side of things. So sometimes these are called feature PMs, but you would expect this person to be have led teams before, have delivered features before, ideally whole products before, specifically know how software gets built. So ideally, we just have this person slot in and they're able to sort of sit atop design and engineering resources and maybe some data science stuff to front to back, sort of scope things out, get it driven in terms of the project side of it, and then get it launched to our members. So GM artist is sort of what we're looking for. If you guys have any recommendations, obviously we're looking for people that are culture fit on remote and async. If they love metabolic health, even better. But please send them my way because I'm about to be posting this, and ideally we can start to get a bit of a pipeline going to hire for the actual first one. Josh did allude that we've never hired for this role, and that's true. One of them was a co-founder, and then I kind of came in sideways because I was hired as an engineer. And so we are going to have to get our process up to date in terms of challenges and whatever else that we do for product managers. So that should be a lot of fun. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Scott. All right, straight into the project updates with Maz.
Everyone, quick update on membership and working with partners. On the membership front, we launched the long form Medium article on membership, and we got a ton of feedback from our members and future members, and it was really good. Really good to see that now. It really helped us understand a lot more how it's received, and we'll incorporate a lot of those feedback into the messaging and content leading up to liftoff. We actually did make some changes to the Medium article based on the feedback already, so that was really helpful to see. I think that also will help us really hone in the explanation, which working with Alan and Scott and some other folks to really understand what checkout flow would look like has been really helpful and useful to make sure the pitch lands well into that flow. So that's been really great. On the partner front, we've had a lot of great conversations moving the ball forward with both manufacturers, and we have also finalized pricing from them to us, which will really help us finalize pricing for liftoff. And so we're scrubbing all the costs right now. And once we have those numbers, we can finalize pricing and include it for liftoff. Overall, that was an update. Thanks so much. Bye.
Okay, we're going to have to go back a slide. So this is perfect. So I'm trying a different format. Start with the feedback one. Yeah, thanks. Starting a little bit of a different format for the Now project this week. I wanted to let you know a little bit about what we're hearing from some of the testing, and then what's shipping this week and what's coming up next. So despite it being assemblage, it was a pretty strong week. Before I get into that, just a quick overview on what we're hearing. So internally, people and from a few people that are trying it externally, people are really resonating with the full screen cards. They're helpful and clear and helping people focus in on a single thing at a time, making all of our insights more discoverable. Where we're seeing some confusion is where do things go when you actually dismiss a Now card? Some disorientation in the mix. We're currently throwing in a bunch of journey-based things on what I should be doing, as well as insights on how my food is affecting my health in the same sort of UI, and it's a bit disorienting. And then people were having trouble figuring out how to switch cards. Go to the previous slide, Josh. And so this week we worked on addressing some of that feedback, and some of that feedback will be coming in future weeks, but we ended up getting a lot of work done this week. So huge kudos to the engineering team for pulling this off throughout the assemblage. 2 slides forward. Okay, so I just wanted to reorient you. We've had these mocks for the Now card experience, starting with the zone show, where we tell you what happened to your food, why did it happen, and then what to do next time. And we've made progress on the what happened and why did it happen this week. So next slide. Here you'll see the live implementation that Marilla was working on, getting the scaffolding for the new zone show. This scaffolding is super important because it allows us to attach full screen insight cards directly to the zone report in that Instagram style story. So this is launching this week. Great job, Marilla. Next slide. Beyond that, the really cool new why did it happen screen with the histogram is launching this week. So I think this is dummy data because steak doesn't actually have a huge response, but now when you log something, it'll pick the highest response tag in your meal and tell you that. That this one typically has a large response in the community. And so you have context that it's not just you, that this is happening to other people, and you can explore here as well. Next slide. We're also launching a full screen explainer that people will see in context. When they have questions about the glucose or about the scores, now they can tap a little icon next to the score and get a simple understanding of what it is. That one was also Murillo. Next slide. We also got in the solution to people getting disoriented when they dismiss a card, they don't know where it goes, like you can see on the right here. Now, instead of it being hidden below the fold, we've moved it above the fold into this new recent activity card that you can tap to get back to it. Before that was hidden below the screen. So we'll see how people like this next. Next slide. Sorry, that previous one was Justin, so awesome work for that. The feature flag improvements. So Maxine helped us with Launch Darkly, which is going to turbocharge our ability to do testing and trying out different cohorts and seeing what's resonating with different experiments. but there was some legacy performance issues that we had to deal with our feature flag system and marrying that with Launch Darkly. And so John jumped in to help improve that. And with this launch, we'll be able to enable that 10% rollout to our membership. Next slide. Steph's been working on this common questions widget. So in the first week, it's imperative that we help people comprehend all the basics about metabolic health and all the new stuff they're learning with their CGM. And we know a lot of these questions, but we don't surface it in a really relevant manner. So now we'll be surfacing this experience where you get the immersive full screen cards bucketed by the different questions that people have right from the homepage. And this one, I put a little fingers crossed here because it's still in review, but I'm hoping we can sneak it in this week. If not, it'll be early next week. Next slide. In progress this week, there's a bunch of other work in progress. So Gabriel has been working on onboarding V2 with in-app video, which you can see here. He's also working on porting over the anomaly detection into the new full screen now experience. And Justin has been working on swipe to close cards. We had that feedback that swiping was hard to actually get around the cards. So now that we've gotten rid of the bottom, the swipe up to see the list, now what's going to happen is if you swipe up or down, we'll just dismiss that card and it'll be much easier to swipe back and forth left and right as well. Next slide. Okay, so that's what's shipping this week and what's kind of in flight. Briefly, what's coming up for the next few weeks. I've been working on a new phasing doc that just summarizes what are the different phases. Hopefully, they're aimed to be chunked into roughly 1 or 2 week phases. You can go to that link and see sort of where we're at and what's coming, whether it's been launched, it's in design, testing, etc. But in brief, after we get this round out, I think we'll be in a pretty good spot to expand out to 10% of the membership. In parallel, from an engineering standpoint, we need to really focus in on that first week journey. We've taken some baby steps to add clarity there, but people are still struggling to have comprehension in that first week and are feeling dejected, and we need to focus on that. In parallel, we'll be starting insights tied to your logs. Now that we've launched the Zone Show V4 that lets us tie those insights into it, now we can start pairing all the awesome content we have right in that moment. And Helene has been working on a lot of effort on this, scoping out on the back end, on the end side for research, how we can start extending our insights engine for that. But we'll be doing that over the next 2 weeks. There's some really cool concepts that Alan has come up with for guided onboarding to really take people from discouragement and move them through excitement and making them feel like they have a sense of purpose moving forward in that first week. So that'll be another big focus. And then introducing some actual artifacts that people build towards, like a week 1 metabolic report that helps them understand where they're baselining and then what to do next. And so by providing this artifact and telling people to build towards it, we'll be helping them know what to do in every moment during that first week. If you want to dive into that, Alan has a great Loom that he posted, I think, a couple of days ago that walks through some of it, or you can dive into the link and then see some of the mocks embedded there. And I think that is it.
Awesome. Huge improvements this week. I love what I'm seeing. Thanks, team. And also, this is super helpful, the phasing of the Now page, like this sort of documentation, and also your other update in threads was just really, really insightful. Appreciate that. Right, over to Andrew.
Hey everyone, weekly in-process SLA and KPI update. Here are the updated numbers. I'm going to actually improve this median one. This is kind of artificially skewed low because a lot of pull requests are pretty fast, and so I'm going to have like interquartile range or something like that. But in general, both the engineering velocity of writing code and hiring people is looking really good. So as before, I want to call out some engineering principles that would be awesome to socialize a bit. And one of the ones this week, as I was looking through some of the work we did, is a recognition that product-facing work is what moves our company forward. And so this is the #1 important thing. So shipping customer-facing features and these kinds of things. There's a lot of infrastructure that supports this. And this is often difficult to explain, kind of hidden. When it's broken, it looks really bad. And so this is kind of the unrecognized area of engineering. You know when it's working really well because everything feels fast and we're able to build the products we want. And so a lot of work happens here. As the company matures, more and more will happen under the water. As we're quite small, we're able to focus more and more energy on MVP style product features. But recognition of that. And I talk about this a little bit into this memo. And so if you haven't had a chance to read it, the growth and scaling memo, please do. Would love everyone's feedback, particularly if you are your work aligns in any way with future growth projections or anything like that. In the memo, I share a bit about our constraints and what limits us and things about engineering toil and that kind of thing. On this theme, I wanted to call out a few pull requests that that kind of demonstrate some of the underlying things. And so these are 3 from John, Jinlu, and I think, yeah, Helena wrote these. And it's like fixing things. It's like removing errors that are causing alerts that don't happen, or like adding tag statistics to data warehouse that enables us to do other stuff later. This is like optimizing something. And so I want to call a special recognition for all the work that's happening that isn't necessarily product features, but enables us to do stuff in the future. Cool. Hope everyone's had a great assemblage week and excited to keep hanging out with everyone.
Love it. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Eng team. All right, over to Alan.
Hey. All right, so we had 3 primary themes this week in design. So the solution snapshot is sort of this long-running effort to sort of take a picture of the moment, what we're working on, what we think the problems are in the experience, and what we believe the some solutions may be. Checkout in color, mostly focused on checkout there, sort of improving the checkout experience, and then interactive onboarding. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is this solution snapshot? So the attempt here is to try to sort of every couple months, maybe every 3 months, take a picture of the experience right now and sort of try to articulate what the problems are that are hindering sort of investment in the levels experience for our members. And so we've got 3 very specific areas of focus here that we believe are doing that for our users. And I think it's fundamentally comprehension. You know, what is this thing? What is glucose, a spike of zone? We've got a very specific mental models around this stuff, and we need to help people understand what these are. Investments, how do you get invested in this project experience? Like, how do you feel like you're working towards something? Sometimes friction can really hinder that, and sometimes just feeling like you're getting something can also hinder your ability to get invested. And then purpose, why are you doing this? Why am I here? What do I do next? We talk about this a lot. And so we're gonna, if you do care to check out this loom, it's quite long. It's like 30 minutes, but it does try to capture all that right now. On purpose specifically, next slide. So this is just a couple screenshots of some of the work that you'll be seeing in the Now page in the future. So as David was alluding to, this notion of a metabolic report. So something in the very first week that's essentially a baseline report. How do we want to drive people to sort of habitualize logging. And so this will be primarily driven through logging and daily activity. And then also providing a bit more of a prompt, like a daily guide, telling you what to read, telling you what to know about the moment that you're in right now in the levels experience. Next slide. Daily looping is a really important component of levels experience too. We don't really have a notion of this, but we want to give some people, our users, some purpose during the day, something to do, something to focus on. Right now, we largely have just the metabolic score, but we think there's a lot of other opportunities for our users and probably different ways to approach daily looping for different kinds of people. Some people want to use levels and sort of experiment, right? And that may not necessarily represent scores as the best way to experiment, because maybe you're having a bag of licorice just to see what happens to your body. There will be users that want to optimize. They want to sort of get in maintenance mode. That's kind of where we are right now with most of our users in the product experience, and then exploring. So maybe you want to go solo. Maybe you want to just do your own thing and sort of define the experience for yourself. So some examples on the next slide. So, experimenting a little bit, we can surface strategies for people to potentially address, things like spikes. Can we talk about pairing food and introducing more fiber? This is a great way for us to sort of make the daily experience feel a little bit more like a lab setting on your body. And then we can provide the quantitative data to show the impact of your choices. Next slide. And then looking at things like, the metabolic score and stability. Right now we have this score that essentially declines over the course of the day. And I think we probably need to do some additional work just to get that more up to snuff for our users. But also maybe we just start really simply and break the day into different chunks. So what does your morning stability look like? Your afternoon, your lunch, your evening? This gives us a chance to kind of focus on specific periods and potentially get them to try to improve choices that they're making in that moment without having a score sort of decline over the course of the day. Next slide. And okay, checkout. This is my favorite slide. I'm glad to talk to this one. So we've started to work on the checkout experience. There's obviously going to be a lot of changes for this. We need to go through an IRB. We have to consent. We have to sign a couple things. However, the nice part of this is that we're going to be able to remove things like the medical questionnaire. We'll be able to simplify it. You won't have to do ID verification. And so what this surfaced to me when I was looking back at these screens was we kind of have a pretty dark sort of emo vibe in the product experience. It's pretty grim. And so we started looking at like potentially lightening it up a little bit. Next slide. So yeah, there's something that you get from a light experience that, specifically, for something like checkout, which is most likely to happen during the day, it's kind of refreshing to see a little bit of color. So we've got this, actually, I wasn't supposed to just talk about color on this. The checkout experience, we ultimately just want to improve it, make it as low friction as possible. So we're starting to introduce a little bit of imagery, trying to simplify some of these questions, and then ultimately leave them with a little bit of a, here comes your order. Sad mode, Josh. Yeah, the next slide. So dovetailing on that, I was most excited about the color stuff, but dovetailing off that a little bit is, how do we brighten the experience a little bit more? There's maybe this in between like a white background and the full black that we have now. Maybe it's introducing a little bit of color. Even here in these little modules, just having white, has these colors pop out a little bit more. And then on the right, even if maybe it's just a simplified version, no gradients, I think it still starts to feel just a little bit more refreshing. Next slide. Okay, so for interactive onboarding, we're having a lot of fun with this one. It gave me a chance to write some code again, which is really fun. And so this is sort of related to this opportunity to kind of get people to learn how these things work by interacting with them and playing with them. So we've got the fundamentals there. We're starting to experiment with how this will work. So that's a little snapshot of this little line that's supposed to be moving around. Yeah, I'm mostly doing this in between assemblage sessions. It's not my full-time thing, but I'm excited to see that eventually get into the product experience. I think that's it. Thanks.
Super awesome. Thank you, Alan. All right, hiring updates. So on Monday, we've got Galit and Stephen joining in software, Caitlin and Jen joining in mid-April, and Sonia actually mid-April. I think we have that, finally have that start date. So yeah, over the next few weeks, we have another 5 awesome people coming to join the team. So please, prepare to help them onboard. If there's anything that you've been anticipating adding for feedback to the onboarding process or haven't yet gotten around to, this is a great time to do so before this new wave of people comes through and goes through the experience. On the open roles, we haven't yet added the PM role that we talked about, but there will be, I assume, a JD up in the next week or so. And in general, if you have great people who you think will be a nice fit for this, starting the conversations earlier is better. So no need to wait until that JD is up. We've got plenty of information that we can give to them to get them familiar with the role. All right, over to LJ.
Hey everyone, LG here again, giving you your Athena weekly update. So from the past week, we have 8 active EAs, 19 levels team members who delegated, and 141 tasks. So we are definitely expecting to accomplish more tasks for the following week because we are nearing towards the end of March. Now moving forward, we have here the new delegation for the week, which came from Jackie. So Jackie asked the Athena team to help migrate a Freds update into a Notion page to document the Mark Hyman IG Live. So as you can see right here, even if Jackie did not provide any Loom instruction, she was able to provide all the sources in order for Joyce is the one who assisted her for this, in order for Joyce to accomplish the task. So she did provide a format on how it should be done, where it should be migrated, and the source, of course. Now another update that we are giving you this week, we'd like to welcome to the team Ellen, Joam, and Armel. They are the 3 new Athena EAs who just onboarded this week, and they will be part of the EA pool in order for us to accommodate more delegations, more requests from you. So yep, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. You may email athena@levelshealth.com if you want to delegate a new task or reach out to any of us. So right, that's it. Thank you so much and have a great week.
Awesome. Thank you, LJ. Welcome to the new Athena EAs. Excited to work with you.
Hey everyone, LG here again, giving you.
All right. Chris.
Hey Josh, thanks. So one, my voice is a little bit groggy today because I was too busy yelling at Mike D during the workout this morning to keep it at a high intensity because he was starting to slack. So the voice of the member wanted to kind of lead off with Josh and Maz talked about this a little bit, the announcement of the levels membership. And as you can see in the chart, kind of in the upper, it caused a pretty big spike. Our daily support cases jumped up over 200% from just that email. So we saw a large influx. The types of questions, and one thing on the left, if there's one call out, it could be a single word can make a big difference in terms of how people perceive it. So in the title, when we mentioned why we're moving to a membership model, for those that read it, it's difference of like, wait, we actually already moved to a membership model back in October versus moving indicates it's happening sometime in the future. So most of the conversation was about what's pricing, I'm a current member, how is pricing going to change in the future? Or I'm an affiliate and I have deals, how's that going to change? Or I'm thinking about buying levels, should I hold off, should I wait, is the pricing going to be better? So people were anchoring on something is happening in the future, how much, when's it happening, and what's that going to impact me? Am I still going to be able to use it? So I just kind of gave some quotes in there just to kind of highlight the variety of feedback. So, I mean, I really appreciate the team rallying around this from all fronts, updating the content, coming up with snippets. So it was great to kind of see the team react to this really quickly, even during assemblage when people were kind of busy with lots of other stuff. And for the rest of the update, I'm actually going to turn it over to Brittany and Jesse. That's going to talk about a project around updating our help center. So Brittany, over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. Josh, you can change to the next slide. Thanks. So a couple of months ago, Jesse and I started on a project to completely revamp our customer support knowledge base. And to provide you with a little bit of background context for those of you who aren't as familiar with the support knowledge base, it's basically an external site accessible by anyone, but really dedicated to our members or potential members to provide them with articles, resources, and so on to help them more easily navigate through their experience with levels. And we'll walk through that here shortly with you. But our goal with this project was to optimize the functionality, organization, ease of navigation, and usefulness of the knowledge base. And we're excited to share with you kind of the phase one revamp of the knowledge base so far. And through this, we're hoping to not only improve the customer experience, but also leverage these new and existing articles in the knowledge base within our customer support service desk, so we can link out to these articles more often and just provide better resources to our members who reach out to us. So I recorded a quick loom of the new updates that we wanted to share with you. So yeah, Josh, if you could play that, that'd be awesome.
This is the updated version of the customer knowledge base. We have implemented a more descriptive naming structure for each category and section in an effort to make it more intuitive for the member or potential member, levels member, as they are navigating through the knowledge base. With that, we've updated the order of each section in a way that follows the customer's journey as they become more familiar with levels. So starting out with the about levels, basic information about the company, how to sign up, compatible devices, available locations, so on and so forth. And we have included information here about account and billing, shipping and delivery. We address FAQs regarding that we often receive when someone's already ordered their levels kit, and how to address shipping issues. And then lastly, in regards to this section, we have this area dedicated to setting up. Once you have received your levels kit, what do you do next? We've updated each of these setup steps to make them quick and easy and intuitive for the customer to go through. And then we have a second section where, okay, the customer has set up their levels, they're using it, but how do they use it most effectively and optimize their experience? So we have a section dedicated to logging and managing the data, understanding that data and the insights, about the continuous glucose monitor itself, because we receive a lot of questions about that. And we've worked hard to address some of our top FAQs regarding the CGM, as well as how-to articles and informational articles as well. And then we have added a new section dedicated to the Levels Marketplace, which includes information about the nutritionist coaching and metabolic health panel. And then for those who want to learn more about metabolic health, we've directed them to our awesome additional resources, such as the Levels blog, Levels video library on YouTube, and the Whole New Level podcast. So we're excited about those updates. And in addition to that, we have created templates for different types of articles, whether it be a how-to article, an informational article, troubleshooting article, or FAQ article. Depending on what type of article it is, we've created templates and implemented them in each of these articles to make it more consistent across the board. So we definitely encourage you to go check out the different articles, and we've tried to make it clear through the naming structure what type of article it is, from an FAQ to a troubleshoot article to a how-to article. So please provide any feedback on how we've implemented those templates, and if you haven't seen the opportunities for improvement there. Lastly, we've worked to improve searchability by making sure that every keyword associated with each article makes sense, and we've refreshed those keywords. So hopefully now we've reduced the number of failed searches, and we receive questions about, can they wear them in the sauna? We have keywords associated with the sauna. It takes you directly to the article. So we've really updated the keywords and searchability there in an effort to make it easier on the person who is searching for the article. And lastly, we've gone through every piece of current documentation, updated it, and closely reviewed it to make sure it's as up to date as possible. And we've also worked on creating some new documentation as well, and that's going to be a continuous, ongoing thing. This is always going to be a living, breathing project, and we will be working to create new articles just to address frequently asked questions that we receive.
Awesome. And then, if you could change it to the next slide, Josh. And then Jesse's going to take it over and talk about next steps for this project. Thanks.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Brittany. So just a quick slide on the next steps. We are going to be looking at some analytics on just how to continue optimizing this. Some key ones to call out are failed searches and popular searches to make sure that we have keywords and articles so that people are getting to the articles that they are looking for. And then also to not only the main goal is to increase member support for this, but also we want to make sure that the leverage of this site is as high as possible so that people are going to the site first and we're decreasing the amount of traffic we're seeing in Help Scout. And then immediate next steps are also applying the rebranding to the support site, and then just continuing to scrub FAQs on a weekly basis and create new articles where applicable. And then we're going to be experimenting with creating looms and with walkthroughs of for instance, like how to sign up for a subscription, just to walk through how to do that. So there's different types of not only text-based instructions, but also video-based instructions. And if anybody has any feedback, let us know. We'd love to hear it. Thanks.
Really awesome update. That's just a huge improvement for what is a primary member experience as they ramp into the product. So thanks, Brittany, Jesse, and everyone working on the member support and member success side. This is great. Looking forward to the analytics too. All right, Ben.
All right, here we go. Growth. Next slide, please. So weekly recognized revenue, we're at 136, and monthly we're at 874. So trending out to have a consistent month like the past two. Next slide, please. Weekly metrics. So 4,300 weekly active users as far as food logger or weekly active users, and then 62% of those weekly actives were food loggers. So we've seen that trend up since we had a bit of a downward trend, and there are multiple factors. There's the communications that we've been doing to members as far as emails, to create awareness around the importance of food logging. Been talking about it more in content, more in podcasts, and then there's now nudges in product. So all of these factors combine to help to reinforce. It's not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing thing. If we can reinforce why people should log food and the importance of it from a data standpoint and insight standpoint, that will help us to get better product market fit. Next slide, please. Total memberships were at 8,500 and email signups were at just under 228K. So nice to see that growing. Next slide, please. So podcast recap. This email here was January 11th, 2021. It was the first email to Josh saying, hey, let's record. And this was, I think, a week after I had started. We said, let's just start doing this and see what happens. Next slide, please. So we ended up recording and we kept everything internal. We did this until April, but we had this secret feed and we would just distribute amongst the team for feedback. And we wanted to see what people, not only on the team, but in our network thought of like, hey, is this absurd thing that we're doing? Like, is it worthwhile listening to? And so we did that for a few months. Next slide, please. We got to a point, so April 19th, 2021, just about a year ago, we ended up launching 3 podcasts all at once, which was interesting experiment. And we kept 2 of them, which is A Whole New Level and Metabolic Insights. The live sessions one was Clubhouse, rest in peace, Clubhouse, but it was for Clubhouse sessions and conference sessions that didn't necessarily fit the narrative of what we were doing. And we deprecated it because it wasn't getting used as much. Next slide, please. So when we started doing this, we did all the editing in-house, we did all the production, all the recording, and it was this scrappy thing where we just kept going and going and going. And eventually in October, I think it was probably around June when we were like, okay, we should start thinking about bringing on a full-time audio producer and somebody to take over the reins on the podcast. And so in October, we ended up bringing on Tony with the intent of taking over the podcast and really having ownership over it. And so we had this idea that, hey, it'll be 3 to 6 months until things are fully ramped up, until it's fully handed off. And so in the past year, we're just under 100 episodes. We'll hit it by, I guess it'll be 100 episodes that we've done in a year. And it'll be, who knows what the plays will be, but it'll be over 150K. So it's cool to see that grow. Next slide, please. And so what this means, no more Legos. Tony, this is the announcement. We announced it in Threads, but Tony is officially the DRI. So all these Legos are being given away to Tony, and nothing's going to change as far as production goes, as far as recording, the approach, having everyone involved. It's the idea that Tony has full ownership over the strategy. He's the decision maker. He is the go-to person to say, hey, I've got the discretion and the lens on what we should distribute as a company. So it's this idea of giving away the Legos that we talk about all the time. So now it is time to announce it as of today. Tony is officially the DRI. He owns the podcast, and super happy to see that happening. So that is an update on growth, and that's a whole new Lego.
Whole new Lego, love it. Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Tony, for taking over. It's exciting. All right, Tom.
All right, next slide. Okay, so wanted to talk through a bit today how we think about evaluating the results of paid partnerships experiments that we're running, specifically podcast advertising, though most of what I'm going to talk about applies to sponsorships across partner platforms generally. Reminder that we're documenting all of this in a couple of places. So Notion, shout out to Jackie, who's started and been maintaining this partnerships learning database, as well as this master spreadsheet that contains all info related to paid partnerships stuff. And two metrics that I wanted to shine a light on today that serve as kind of a rough proxy for how an ad test is performing are ROAS, or return on ad spend, and CAC, customer acquisition cost. We'll discuss these metrics much more and many others in the future, but really high level return on ad spend is simply looking at how much revenue we get compared to how much we spend. And if this number is over 1, it means that we've made more than we've spent on a given campaign, which is what we're looking for. And then customer acquisition cost looks at how much we spent divided by the number of new customers. So similarly, pretty much any business wants this number to be less than the amount of money that you get from that customer, that new member. So next slide. There we go. Okay, so wanted to look at a recent experiment that just wrapped up. And in part, I wanted to look at it because not every podcast ad experiment performs like David Sinclair. In fact, most won't, and perhaps none will perform as well. But this is a show focusing on a slightly different audience, so investing and VC tech. And we ran a not small test, a $20,000 test over the course of a couple of months. And the bottom line is that it didn't drive much revenue. It didn't drive many new members. So as you'll see here, return on ad spend was way under 1, and customer acquisition cost was well above $398, which is what we get from a customer. So we'll unpack this a little bit more. Next slide. Okay, so left graph here is comparing return on ad spend for a handful of podcast ad tests that we've run, and the right is doing the same with customer acquisition cost. We want the bars on the left to be high. We want the bars on the right to be low. I'd add this is not comprehensive data. It's sort of an apples to apples look at like a 4-week period surrounding particular set of ads that go live. And so, for example, David Sinclair's numbers are actually quite a bit better than this if we were to look at kind of all-time revenue that it's generated. But regardless, they're very good. And one of the points here is that fortunately, the partners that are driving the vast majority of our revenue are highly profitable. But then there are also a lot of smaller tests that we're running that are not performing as well based on these metrics, which is totally expected. And frankly, the goal in terms of having some foundational partners every month that are performing really well for us, and then the sort of flexibility and leeway to be running some longer tail experiments. And then I would say the other point is that these experiments are just single data points. I think it's really important that we don't get in the habit of drawing conclusions anytime we gather any amount of data. So examples of that would be, looking at a graph like this, we could say, wow, the tech audience just doesn't work for us. We ought never experiment again with acquired or any other kind of like tech VC investing audience. Even better example would be if you see down here Kelly LeVecq's podcast in terms of the small advertising experiment we ran, actually did not perform very well. And so in a world where we did this with Kelly prior to anything else, we might say, Kelly's not going to be a good partner for us, and we shouldn't go after that space at all, which clearly is not the case. Kelly on her other platforms has driven, I think top 5 overall new members for us, and has done so really efficiently. Next slide. Okay, and then wanted to call out the top 2 are the same graphs that you just looked at, and then these bottom 2 are looking at month over month metrics across all partners. We can now keep an eye on these metrics each month, and we're going to do so throughout 2022, thanks to some nifty work that Chris helped us out with in Retool and Snowflake. And these are sort of blended. So what they're looking at all affiliates and all paid partners together. And as you'll see here, the numbers look pretty good. And again, the reason is that partners like Sinclair and Hyman and others are driving the vast majority of revenue. So excited to start reporting out on these on a monthly basis. Next slide. Okay, so just quickly some factors. When a campaign doesn't perform well, for example, here are a few of the factors that we're considering. So audience, this is pretty obvious, but just like, who is the audience? What are they interested in? What do they care about? What do they look like demographically? Host influence over the audience, I would say this is probably the most important factor given our stage and product type. And it's also the hardest to discern based on looking at a show. You really can't find this out unless you test. And this is something that's been reinforced to me by many other peer brands in the space. Quality of the ad read. So for example, in Invest Like the Best, in retrospect, it really wasn't the best ad read. And we've now actually adopted some of our guidelines for ad reads based on it. There wasn't kind of enough of a personal testimony around concrete things that an individual learned. And then lastly, link visibility. Some shows will not post the link, the actual sponsor link, really anywhere beyond reading it aloud during the show. And then others like Sinclair are posting it in the show notes, on the website, on YouTube, and a lot of different places. Next slide. This is the last one. Thanks for bearing with me. And then, yeah, I would just say that as we, increasingly orient around these metrics, it's important to keep in mind that they are not the only thing that matters when thinking about some of these partnerships and marketing activities. And so the best example of this would be, Tim Ferriss. If we were to run, say, one ad on the Tim Ferriss show and the metrics didn't look great, it would absolutely be a mistake if we were to say, okay, these metrics aren't great after one ad, we're not going to work with Tim Ferriss anymore. And that's because there's all this other value that comes with, 1 million people hearing about Levels. Most importantly, a Tim Ferriss endorsement means a ton for the brand and for the product. We view Tim as a long-term partner. So again, a mistake if we were to orient around these metrics after just one ad. And then lastly, there's just so much learning to be had across all of these segments that many of them, we go into the experiment knowing that there might be a decent chance that they're not going to perform great in the short term. Okay, that was long, sorry, but that's it.
Oh, that was awesome. Really appreciate the background messaging and the data that went into this. It was really insightful. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jackie. Everyone involved. Haney.
Right. 3 pieces up since last we chatted. We did Q&A. It's kind of a Bridget week, actually. We did a Q&A with Bridget a while ago. Actually ended up being a 2-parter because we had so much to talk about. And it's a really good piece. She was very active in helping us shape it. So we did the interview as we typically do. We do the interview. I actually have a writer then who I just send the transcript to, and she's really good at distilling it down into a nice readable piece. And usually the process is with our 5 questions or other ones that we send back to the person we interviewed, they'll change a word or two and sort of sign off. Because Bridget is so good at communication, she really took an active hand and looped in some other folks in her company to dive in and make sure that the points we were making and the stories she was telling were very clear and really delivered. And so it was a good example of sometimes the fear when you show people you've talked to a transcript. In fact, in normal journalism, that's usually not done because they start rewriting and they want to change things. They regret what they've said. This was a really good example of we go ahead and do this because we always want folks to have a sign off, but really, being a partner and working with us on that. So I encourage you to check that article out. And then Bridget also served as the reviewer and the expert on this milk alternatives piece. I think this is going to be really popular. I think a lot of us with the company use various plant-based milks. And, this was something Casey has talked about a lot, that there's just a lot of variance within these. Some have a ton of added sugar, or some, like oat milk, we know is one of the worst spikers out there, but there are other really good ones. And so Revel did this piece as a nice breakdown, including some specific brands that we like. And again, Bridget really weighed in early on to help us shape it, and then reviewed at the end, even shared a graphic that she had produced for her blog for that piece. And then the last piece here is a second in a series that we'll see if it goes on or not. A guy named Glenn, who you might remember from an earlier assemblage, Glenn Murphy started doing these pieces for us, where the idea was to talk to people who follow a specific dietary philosophy, whether that's paleo, vegan, calorie counting, keto, and sort of meet them where they're at and help them bring some metabolic health principles into their dieting. So instead of saying, no, you shouldn't be paleo or you shouldn't be this, this was really built on conversations Glenn's had as he's gone out and kind of evangelized eating for metabolic health. And so we did one about calorie counting a while ago. This one we did on paleo, which, on paper is a very metabolically healthy, friendly diet. It eschews, processed food and grains and stuff. But there's some really good information in here about some ways that paleo can go a little off track and just things that you can add to a paleo diet to make it a little bit more aligned with metabolic health. And then we've talked a lot about the last piece here, the membership piece. The only thing I'll say about this, in addition, this piece that we put up on Medium, is that banking on what everyone else has said, the feedback and the process that came from this was helpful, not just for shaping our message out, but also for process. So, a couple of process improvements that I think have come out of this in terms of how we do emails, particularly these email newsletters, is I typically send to a small handful of people for input before I send them out. I'm going to start posting them more broadly just in the content forum so everybody gets a chance to weigh in on them. And we're going to just back up the production a little bit more and give folks more time to weigh in. I don't know if any of that would have sort of changed the way we did things now. I think this might have been a piece where we just needed to see a broader reaction, but I think the more opportunity we have for folks to weigh in, I think the better on this. One more slide. Just quickly, little behind the scenes update. I spent a little time cleaning up the content wiki, which I'm now calling the editorial wiki. If you want to deep dive into why, you can look at the most recent editorial strategy memo where we talk about terminology. But in advance of Caitlin joining in a couple of weeks, I wanted to just sort of clean up all the stuff that's been accruing here over the last year and a half. So just a plug for this, it's out in Notion if you're ever curious about how we do the things we do. There's a bunch of tutorials, there's a bunch of strategy docs, a bunch of reference materials, everything related to content, competition, et cetera, is all out there. So hopefully a little bit more organized now. And that's it for content.
Awesome. Thanks, Haney. Great insights there. Wow. Okay. We're at the end. I'm going to end the share. Switch to gallery mode. All right. So the new drill is I just go through the participants list, which kind of means that it's alphabetical order, with the exception of the host. So I'll kick this off. Professionally, personally, I'm most excited about Austin and getting here. The move's behind us now. We're getting settled in. It's been a fun week, honestly. The super secret insight is that you should get movers to load your truck and unload your truck, and that changes everything apparently. So shout out Andrew and David for the advice there. I'm here. It's been awesome to hang out with the crew and meet a couple new faces in person from the Levels team, and just, really high energy, feeling great about everything and excited for the future. Andrew, as co-host, you're next.
My camera is being weird, so I guess you all don't get to see me. So personally, I've been swinging back into mountain bike season. I think we get one more snow, and so that's going to regress things a bit, but then we're back on the bike. So that's really exciting. Professionally, we have 2 software engineers starting next week, and we've been, celebrating that in the Friday forums for several weeks. But this is happening, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, same. Awesome. Alan. Alan is predisposed. I'm going to jump to Azure.
Hey, I'm also excited about you guys getting set up in Austin and about starting to sketch out how participatory research could work at Levels. Personally, I'm finally back home in Berkeley and I'm not going anywhere for a while, so I'm excited to be home.
Awesome. Enjoy. Ben.
Yeah, levels wise, hat tip Mike D. All the organization with assemblage is huge. There's so much work that goes into it, and it's leveled up, no pun intended, leveled up so much just with like lightning talks, and they're getting distributed on YouTube now, and all of these factors. So huge hat tip and all the work that goes into it. Appreciate it a lot. And then personally, started crushing athletic greens and love it, and it's just a part of the morning routine, and so really stoked on that.
Another athletic greens convert. Casey.
Hey, I gotta say, it's just so exciting to see on video here so much of the team together in Austin and just all of the in-person meetups. It's just so wonderful to see the team connecting in person. For me, I got to see several members of the Levels community here in LA while I was here for School of Greatness. Got to see Drew Pruitt and Nick Green, one of our investors, and Sonia, our new chief of staff. And so that was it's just such an amazing feeling to get to see people in person. Otherwise, I did my second cold plunge ever this week. I was checking out a fun gym in LA, and so did a 3-minute cold plunge. And I think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid now. It's like I felt so good for the rest of the day. So got to find some more cold exposure to do.
Awesome. I think we had some cold plungers today, actually, at Justin Mayor's house. I'm going to spotlight the in-person crew here. I'm going to start with Chris.
I'm the unmute. So huge +1 to Mike D on assemblage. It's been so much fun, and to do it in person, interactive. It's just been great. I mean, this is my first Levels points this year because I only got 1 point last year. So it's been a lot of fun and really appreciate it. And personally, as things wind down, I'm kind of hanging out in Austin the rest of the weekend. I've got some family, some cousins that are in town, having dinner with them. So just looking forward to exploring Austin and relaxing a little bit. Jenny?
Nice.
Personally, professionally, so excited to see everybody here. This is working out amazing. But can't ask for better. Also, personally, I'm really excited. I'm heading up to the Pacific Crest next week, and yeah, both excited, also a little slightly apprehensive, but mostly excited.
At least you got a good workout in this morning.
That's right. I got trained this morning. It's all good now.
Yeah, I mean, echoing that professionally, it's just been awesome this week meeting everyone in person, but also the lightning talks just from everyone across the board has been really interesting, motivating, inspiring. I definitely want to go travel, backpack solo. I mean, breath work, it's been awesome. So overall, assemblage, just all the work that goes into it, I can't imagine. So thanks everyone for coordinating. And then, yeah, personally, obviously that, and excited to take some time this weekend to explore Austin outside of the city, which I was telling Chris earlier, I've never really done before. It's always been business travel in the city. So yeah, thanks.
Sure. Run the gamut here. I mean, plus 1,000. Seeing everyone here, but not only that, also having opportunities to be less productive in many productive ways. But I get to sit next to engineers and go like, okay, wait, I see this all the time. What is the consequence? What happens when? And it's been really, really helpful. There've been a lot of things that have been unlocked, and the way my brain processes, I can put a lot of things together. Plus, even though again it's disruptive, it's really nice to be able to go, okay, hold on, Brittany, have you seen this before? And she's like, yes. We worked it out.
Yeah, that's been fun.
So like once a year would be really great. Then we'll have a lot of breakthroughs.
Yeah, we've had enough of each other after that. No, joking.
So and then professionally as well, I'll go with had some breakthroughs on the text expander project. So after Brittany and Jesse have been doing a lot of work on that side, we are working on the Help Scout side to really clean. We have 1,000 snippets that we use, and there's lots of duplicates, and there's lots of opportunity to make that more streamlined and more consistent voicing and more productive for our members. So now that that's been unlocked, we're really good to work on that.
Yep, personally, professionally, just getting to meet so many new people and seeing people that I've only ever met like once or twice before. Assemblage has been great, and hanging out with everyone for pretty much all week has also been awesome. So thanks, Mike, for putting everything together.
Nice. Thanks, everybody. +1 on all that. Dan.
Hey, yeah. So professionally, I'm entering my last week of onboarding next week. So I'm really just excited to have the opportunity to start to get more in the weeds on everything that I'm going to be working on after next week. Personally, I have my sister and parents coming in town next Wednesday for my son's 3rd birthday party, which we are holding at a train museum at Griffith Park, which I don't know if any of you guys or girls have ever been there, but if you're ever in LA, it's free, good place to take kids. So thank you.
Great spot. Enjoy. Gabriel.
Yeah, I'm also going to say assemblage. Thanks so much, Mighty. Really enjoyed a lot of the events. I've got to talk to some people I hadn't talked to one-on-one before. So yeah, really enjoyed it. And then also, yeah, team growth, always exciting.
Definitely. How can you explain the intricacies of the Mocha Master?
It's just a very expensive draping machine. Like I didn't find it's really better than any like manual draper, but it just spotted. Yeah, level-wise assemblage has always been really fun to me. So for me, and really enjoyed all the lightning talks. And personally, I'm going on a week off next week, so looking forward for that.
Nice, enjoy. Helena.
Coming at you from the Austin crew behind me. It's been really great to be here. The engineers sort of hijacked the support team's meetup. So we actually outnumbered them for a little bit, which was cool. And I think yeah, it's just been really great to get to like sit next to each other and work. And I think we're going for a hike later, so that's exciting too.
All good stuff. Ian.
Obviously, the Austin meetup has been the highlight of my week. Feel like I've been blasted by warm fuzzies this week, if people are familiar with that nomenclature. And that's everyone's already said everything I would say about that. Oh, it's nice to be crushing levels bingo in my first 2.5 months or whatever being here and not having to lift a finger really. That's nice. Personally, the next 2 days I am headed out to West Austin to play the biggest local pickleball tournament of the year. And for those of us in Austin last night who were talking about Garmin body battery, like I've been eating so much rich food and drinking more booze than I usually do this week and staying out late. And so my body battery out of 100, mind you, is currently at 6. Which is 1 above the minimum that it can be. So, I've created some headwinds for myself in this tournament, and sometimes it can be helpful to come in with low expectations so that you can be pleasantly surprised.
Like D, let's get a little hype up conversation for Ian after this. Jesse.
Yeah, I think the Now page updates, I'm really excited for those. And all week during assemblage, it's been really cool to pin the Austin crew and just see everyone walking around in person. That's been a highlight. Yeah, and that's it.
Nice. JM.
So you can actually ruin your metabolic health in 2 weeks. I've turned into pizza. I went for a run this morning and it was materially harder than the same run before I left. My VO2 max fell by about 0.4. So that's it. Like, I'm back. I really missed you guys. It was great to be away. My wife noticed that I was not kind of engaged in work the way I typically am on vacation. So thank you all for that. I'm really fired up about the next couple months. So let's go.
Let's go indeed. Looking forward to seeing you claw your way back to that VO2 max.
Thank you.
Lauren.
Hey, everybody. I am here at Lake Merritt trying to get my walking in. I'm excited because Taylor and I get to meet for the first time in person today. So it's our own little mini meetup. And then also just wanted to give a shout out to Jackie, who has been so incredibly helpful with helping me get into the groove of podcasting and recording and helping me shape narratives and talking points and everything. It's just been so helpful and amazing.
Love it. Enjoy the meetup, Taylor and Lauren. Lori.
Hi, I missed most of the assemblage, though Russ and I did cook the dinner last night without the rest of you. I missed all of that. It's always fun to cook with you guys, but the dinner was great. And I look forward to listening to all the lightning talks this weekend. Really excited about that. On a very personal front, we're slowly moving to South Carolina, but I'm going to take my time and not race. Last week, I thought I'd be moving to Texas. So we've had a lot of ups and downs in the last week and a half. And it's just good to be part of a team that's so stable and great. I don't know. Sometimes personal things can not be so wonderful.
That's an exciting development. It's going to be fun to track your move cross country.
Thank you.
Matt.
Yeah, levels wise, the assemblage obviously has been huge highlight, getting to see everybody and just like riff on unformed ideas with other people from teams that like I would normally only interact with during a donut chat. So that's huge +1 to meeting in person. It's been a really highlight of the week. Tomorrow's my birthday, so personally, I'm really excited to explore Austin with the crew that's going to stay around.
Definitely. Maxine.
Yeah, +1 first assemblage. The cooking class was awesome. And I learned my lesson to try and make it to IRL assemblages. On the personal front, next week is my last week in New York until the summer. So I'll be in San Francisco for a week and then I'll be in Mexico City for a month. So might try and find some of you in San Francisco if you're around.
Nice. Maz.
Hey guys, on the personal front, I've been experimenting a ton with the uric acid meter, which I think was recommended on one of the threads. And so I've got like 10 strips here. My family thinks I'm crazy, but it's been fascinating. It's correlating the uric acid with glucose and ketones. And so it's just been fun to do that. But I think I'm entering the fringe here because I've got my fingers are, look like it's full of pinpricks, but it's been fun and instructive. On the professional front, launching the membership memo was really a great learning experience, and kind of seeing all the feedback and the amount of work that we created for support. So sorry for that, guys. But just the learning experience of seeing, the impact and getting the feedback, and then being able to react quickly, both as a team and across the business, has been really fantastic to see, and was fun.
Nice. Mike D.
Yeah, so lots to update. Definitely +1 to mostly everything that's been said. In person, seeing some people in Austin has been great. Definitely, Maz said about getting some content out there about our membership strategy it's really awesome. And I know we got some really good feedback. And then obviously excited about assemblage. We're wrapping it up here. Also, shameless plug, please fill out the post assemblage survey so that we can make it better for next quarter. And I think that's it.
Nice work on the assemblage, Mike. Ms.
Yeah, broken record here, and try to get through this without saying the assemblage word, the A word. Really good to see people in person, and also, there's a lot of value to meeting people in person, which is awesome and really rich. I'm also surprised at how well we know each other virtually, and so that's kind of an interesting inverse learning. So I'm happy that we can get to that point the way we do. On the work side. So thanks to Mike for organizing all these events too. It's a huge lift. There's a lot of thinking and coordination. So props, Mike. Thanks for all that. On the work side, the business side, I think this next phase is really interesting and is going to force us to change the way we think a lot about members, communications, like product releases, all these kinds of things. And so I'm excited for this next phase. David's update particularly, I appreciate it. And then I think the learnings from the membership communication and just comms in general will force us to think differently and have kind of a shift change with the real members out there depending on us. And that's been interesting to see. So excited for that phase coming up.
Definitely. Haney.
On the professional side, I'll echo the assemblage, but from a slightly different angle, which is I was busy this week and ready for a trip next week and didn't get a chance to attend much. So I'm very grateful that it's all recorded and we can just tune in later. That's not the case with most company events. Like there's a bunch of lightning talks I want to watch, so I'm going to kind of queue those up for when I'm gone. And then on the personal front, we get on a plane tomorrow morning for a week in London and Paris. So just excited to show the boy Europe.
Amazing. Enjoy. It was great to hear from Justin, who joined after the assemblage in March of last year, but did the breathwork session from March of last year. And so had like that context. That was really interesting because I was like, wait, you weren't there for that. And then he was like, yeah, I just watched it on my own time later. So that was really cool. Murillo.
Yeah. First of all, Lisbon meetup. It was great meeting everyone. My bingo card isn't empty anymore, which is exciting. And professionally, it's always amazing to me to see the speed of execution that we have here. And finally getting to interact with an initiative that has been going for a long time, which is tagging, and just seeing the quality and the amount of work that went into that. It's great. It's always humbling to be part of this team. So excited about that.
Awesome. Scott.
Oh man, work-wise,
We got new people starting. Assemblage always warms the heart. Always love that cooking class too. Feels like a competitive sport. She moves. So it's always fun to do that with people. I feel like we have so many things right now. I feel like our company, or most companies, I feel like we go through these spread and contract cycles, and we're definitely at the peak of a spread cycle right now where we've got all these pokers in the fire and we've got a lot of dev work in flight. And I'm excited to see it all contract and actually get delivered here in the coming weeks. On the personal front, hanging out with the kids. It's peaking up over 60, so we're going to be outside as much as possible this weekend. Also, shout out to Tom. Happy birthday, buddy.
It's Scott's birthday as well, everyone.
Happy birthday and happy early to Matt. Stacy.
Work front, assemblage, of course, but the highlight is always the cooking class. We end up making that dish repeatedly for the next couple months. So if you didn't check that out, highly, highly recommend it. And I think this is the first time that it didn't spike my glucose at all. So some of the past recipes have been a little unconventional for levels, but personal front, home projects. Every weekend we're home, it's home projects. So looking forward to that.
Nice. I didn't think of that, but I will probably take the cooking class this weekend. That's awesome. Steph.
I could go on for minutes or hours about how much fun I've had in assemblage so far. But yeah, it has been so cool to kind of echo what Matt and Sunny had said of this interdisciplinary meetup between engineering and support, to be able to, like, there was one morning where we Matt and I cold plunge and then saunaed and then spitballed about levels. And I was like, this is my dream morning. Like, I want to do this every morning. And so it's just been, yeah, such a rich experience to be able to share these experiences in person. And yeah, I mean, like, that's professional and personal. And so I'm excited to continue to hang out with the team for the rest of the weekend.
Maybe there's like a premium tier membership where you get to come join an assemblage in person and do cold plunges and spitball about the future of health. Taylor.
I love it. Yeah, for me also, you know, had a great walk-in with Maz earlier this week, and helped really streamline my thoughts, and I think we're coming up with a good plan. Excited to meet with Lauren today, and also starting to work with Jesse and Azure. It's good. Our little research team is starting to come together. And then I think certainly the highlight of the week was assemblage, and for me, the breathwork session yesterday was fantastic. That was just awesome, and I can't wait to see where other shows up. I think if I can, I'm probably going to go down to Joshua Tree in May and you know, see what they're up to. So that was really cool.
I might see you there.
Awesome.
Yeah. TG.
Yeah. Plus one to what Riley said, just around living vicariously through everyone in Austin. I'm surprised at just how excited I've been, even though I'm not there. And I'm looking forward to seeing how things take shape over the next year in terms of like large group meetups. And I think it's clear that there's some real, like, deep fundamental value to unlock there in terms of getting everyone together, which has been interesting for me to just think about, because if anything, I was more on the side of like, remote everything, who needs the happy hours anymore? And I'm super excited to get down to Austin and generally to do an assemblage with a big group in the future. And then, yeah, personally, was in DC last weekend visiting good friends, and I've got a bunch of friends traveling in town to New York this weekend. So excited for all that.
Nice. Let me be the first to formally invite you to stay at our extra bedroom. Anyone on this call, we're now formally Austinites. We've got an extra spot to crash. Come on down anytime. Tony.
Yeah, another shout out to Mike D for setting up an awesome assemblage. I didn't get to make it to the cooking class, unfortunately, but the workout this morning was definitely a highlight for me, and I still can't feel my legs. But yeah, should be back to normal tomorrow.
Amazing. Well, we're right at time here. Great week, really fun running through this assemblage with you all, even though I wasn't able to interact on some of the stuff because I was driving. It was just amazing to follow along and hear everyone's excitement and catch up on all the energy and at the in-person stuff. So thanks everybody. We're going to jump into a fireside, which Ms. is it a separate link or same link?
Yeah, let's use a new Zoom just so the recording is clean.
Okay.
I think it's its own link. And we'll probably get started at 2 or 3 after, just in case people need a quick break.
Yeah, take a few minutes, and yeah, that'll be on member centricity. Excited for that. That'll wrap up our scheduled assemblage events for this quarter. And to everybody who's not going to make it, have a great weekend, and I will see you all next week.